If you're moving to Medellin, whether it's long-term, short-term, these are things that I wish I knew when I was moving down here, but I got deported, so I didn't have time to prepare. But you do have time to prepare. So I'm gonna tell you these things. They apply for even short-term stays, but most of them are for long-term stays. Point number one is banking. The best thing that you could do is get a bank card, you know, a debit card or a checking or savings account with a bank that doesn't charge international transaction fees at ATMs. I know that the best one so far for a lot of our clients has been Charles Schwab, because they reimbursed your ATM fees when you take money out. I have Bank of America and they charge through the wazoo, so I don't use it very much when I take money out of the ATM. I usually will use my local card, but I'll talk about how to get a local bank account here at the end of this point. You don't need to take out a bunch of cash, first of all, when you're running around here, because most places like grocery stores, restaurants, even like the cafe at the gym, everywhere, even the little mom and pop shops will take cards. Most of them will. And you don't even need to carry the physical card. I don't even have a wallet. I have everything on my Google Pay, or my Google Wallet, I should say. So that usually works really well. What about transferring money into like Colombian bank accounts? Let's say you come down here and you need to pay someone and transfer into a Colombian bank account. You can use apps like Remitly and Wise. Wise is a great one. Wise is the one that we use probably the most because the fee is lower than Remitly, and usually they have a better exchange rate. If you do have a business in the United States and it's got some sort of e-commerce or digital aspect to it, you might qualify for a Mercury account, Mercury Bank. It's all digital. And I love Mercury Bank because it's zero wire transfer fees internationally. So we use that pretty much every single month for our businesses here. Now let's talk about the most difficult thing, which is actually creating a Colombian bank account. In Colombia, most banks won't let you open a bank account with just a passport. You'll need a local ID or a local tax ID, which is called an RUT number. In order to just open up an account with just the passport, you'll probably have to get an RUT number, and in order to do so, you have to be here in Colombia. We help people through our masterclass do it, and we know which branch to go to where they open up the account. So if you're coming here by yourself, I mean, you could try it yourself and go to various branches until you hit one that works. That's what some people have done. Yeah, opening up a bank account is a big one. And why would you want a local bank account? It makes life here so much easier. A lot of websites, for example, like paying utilities, etc., they don't accept foreign cards. So if you don't have a local card, it's gonna be tough. Government agencies, some of them don't accept foreign cards, so you have to have a local account. Even buying like concert tickets to like Bad Bunny or Shakira, some of those websites don't take foreign cards, so it could be very frustrating sometimes. So if you have a local account, it's great. On top of that, most mom and pop shops, if they don't accept credit cards, they will accept a transfer from your local bank account to theirs. The most popular one here is Bancolombia. So that's the best bet, is to open up a Bancolombia account. That leads me to point number two, which is renewing your documents, renewing all of your important stuff. Like for example, if you've got a local ID in the United States, like a driver's license or just an ID number, or just an ID, what you want to do is renew that so that you have maximum years on it, so you don't have to worry about renewing it from abroad. I know that, for example, the state of California, you could do it from online, unless if you need to take a new picture. I don't know how often that happens, but you can do it online. But it's just better to have everything renewed, especially credit cards, debit cards, all that stuff. I know we're in a digital age, but it's nice to have the physical copy too. Okay, so we're here at our park, and it looks like it's not raining, but it's very gloomy. I'm gonna find a spot to post up here. All right, so the next point is visas. The easiest visa to get, obviously, is the tourist stamp or the tourist visa. If you're coming from the United States, you get 90 days. I think you have to have a return ticket when you come here. But if you time it correctly, let's say the last 90 days of the year, you can renew those 90 days at the end of or at the beginning of the next year. So you could be here for 180 days, which is 6 months. That's a long time in a country. The next inexpensive visa is the digital nomad visa. It's a visa where you just have to show where your money comes from. If you're a freelancer, independent, or let's say you work for a company that lets you work remote, there are some things that you have to do and show. I think it's about $800 a month that you have to show that you make monthly in order to qualify for it. So that's a good option for some people because it's usually a 1-year visa. I did hear that if you apply for it while you're in your home country, like in the United States, you go to the Colombian consulate over there and apply for a digital nomad visa, some people have gotten it for 2 years instead of applying for it while they're here. The thing that I don't like about the digital nomad visa is that it doesn't count towards your permanent residency here. It just gives you 1 year and they're pretty much expecting you to leave after that, so it's not like a very permanent solution. So if you do plan on staying here longer, go for a migrant type visa like the real estate investor visa, the shareholder visa, business owner visa, or even the marriage visa. That one's probably the hardest one because you have to find a partner. But anyway, the real estate investment visa, we've dealt with that one a lot. If you want to come down here and buy a property, you can apply for that visa after you purchase the property. The amount invested, technically, it's 2025 right now, is about $135,000, but that goes up every single year. This is very important because in order to apply for residency, you have to have this migrant visa for 4 or 5 years. So let's say you bought a property today for $135,000, you applied for the real estate investor visa, and then next year it goes up and you need to renew next year because they only give you a 1-year visa, or maybe it's a 2-year visa and in 2 years you have to renew. That minimum amount will have gone up. And if your property purchase doesn't meet that requirement, you can be kind of in hot water there, or you'll have to go through hoops to show that your property has now gone up in value, etc. So it's just best to clear yourself for the next 4 or 5 years by buying a property about $180,000. Regardless, you should be talking to a professional, a visa attorney. We've got one that we always recommend to our Medellin Masterclass students. If you do become a student, you'll get access to all of that information. If you Google it, you'll find a bunch also on Facebook groups like the Medellin Expats group or the Gringo Paisa group. There are a lot of groups on Facebook and also a lot of WhatsApp groups that you can find that have information on attorneys out here. All right, the next point is rentals, renting apartments out here. Most people are not gonna come out here and buy an apartment right away. I always recommend people to come down here and rent an apartment in the neighborhood that they think they wanna buy in first for a month, maybe 2, maybe jump around to different neighborhoods, because this is, even though it's a small city, it's still got a lot of neighborhoods. I mean, El Poblado alone has 22 neighborhoods in it. I think Laureles has like 14 neighborhoods in it. So they're little micro areas within each neighborhood. So you want to experience that, and you want to be sure of your purchase. You want to be sure of where you're going to rent, even if it's going to be for a whole year through the local means. So let's talk about the platforms. Airbnb is probably the best one because you know you're not going to get scammed. What you see is what you get. You can see the reviews there and you can give reviews. So I highly recommend using Airbnb when you first start. If you don't use Airbnb or booking.com, somewhere where you're not going to lose your money, and you're going to go through maybe someone you found on Facebook or someone that you Googled and you saw a great price and you thought it was great and you started a conversation with them, don't get scammed. This is how you don't get scammed. Number one, make sure you can go to the apartment and see it in person. If you're not in the country, don't do it. Because a lot of people will post fake websites with beautiful images of apartments and furniture, etc., at a low price to hook you in, and then they ask you for your ID. They send you their legal documents. They'll show you their Chamber of Commerce paperwork. You'll look them up and it's an actual company. They'll send you copies of their IDs to gain your confidence. And then they'll say, hey, we've got a bunch of people that want to rent this for the dates that you're going to be here, or for that month or those 2 months that you're going to be here. We need $1,000 deposit. You send the deposit, you get here to Medellin, and they ghost you. You go to the apartment, the actual building, because they'll give you a location and you'll find it on Google Maps. You'll get here, go to the location, the security guard will say, yeah, that place exists, but we've never heard of this person and we don't know who you are. No one's ever told us about you. This is owned by somebody else. And many people have been scammed like that. So don't get caught up on that. Don't send anybody any money without being able to go look at the property first and vet the company, maybe even using an attorney. Again, our Medellin Masterclass students have access to all of our resources. What I would do if I were you, and if I weren't part of the Medellin Masterclass, like what I had to do on my own, was go through Google groups, go through Facebook groups, networking, go to networking events, networking with other expats that have rented off of platforms that weren't, just dealing with locals, etc., and doing it that way. If you are moving here permanently, you're going to want to start networking like this and creating your own list, your own Rolodex of contacts. One of my favorite things about Medellin and Colombia as a whole is that, labor cost is a lot lower and you get pretty good talent for that. I have a personal assistant. She works for me full time and she helps me with all of this. I've been here for 15 years, but I hate standing in lines. I hate calling people on the phone and trying to get information from people, etc. It's not that I don't like doing that activity. I just think that she's much better at it because she's a local. She speaks the language. She can do it like this very quickly, and she actually likes to do this type of work. She's a personal assistant. So hiring a personal assistant is huge. Now let's get to number 5, health insurance. This is a big one. Health insurance in Colombia is top notch. You'll find some of the best facilities, some of the best doctors that are bilingual. I have Suda, private health insurance. Suda is the name of the company. It's one of the biggest ones and their headquarters are here in Medellin. So Suda is amazing. So Suda has different packages depending on how much you want to pay and what level of care you want. But as soon as you become a member, you have access to the app, and with the app you can schedule for routine checkups, dental, anything that you need, your eyesight, anything, you can schedule it on the app. Specialists, I do therapy for my hand, arthritis, whatever the case is, there's something for that. It's very intuitive and easy to use. It's one of my favorite things because now I have a kid and we're all on the family plan. So having his pediatrician on WhatsApp and asking her questions whenever he, sneezes, we're like, oh, what's wrong? And she can literally diagnose him virtually first. And then she's like, oh yeah, bring him in. Or no, you don't need this. Or take him to the respiratory clinic and have his lungs drained of all his fluids, of all the mucus. We've done that, and it saves us time, it saves us money. It's just such a wonderful thing. I pay about $4,000 for the entire family per year for this top-notch plan. Now, I have some students and also friends that live here that have decided to not go with the health insurance package or private health insurance because walking into like the best doctor's office and paying out of pocket is so much cheaper than it is in the United States that it doesn't even make sense to pay a monthly or pay a yearly plan. We're talking about, let's say you go to the dentist and you need a root canal. In the United States, a root canal can cost like $2,000. Here, it'll be a fraction of the cost. So some people just opt not to get the private health insurance. I always opt to do it just because it's something that I'm used to, and with a kid, I think it's important. But if you don't want to, it's not 100% necessary. You can do what you want, but you could start doing research by going online. If you're a part of the Medellin Masterclass, you'll get access to our health insurance agent. Her name is Angela. So health insurance in Colombia is awesome. So let's get to point number 6, which is cell phones. If you're coming from the United States, there are some global packages. I know that my parents and my sister have a Verizon family package, and in order to get like international roaming, I think it was only like a $10 charge more per month to their package, to their family package, and it works. The reason why, for example, my dad uses it a lot is to verify the credit cards or banking information. Sometimes they need to send you a text message or call you. And he does receive some calls for business purposes from the United States. So if you're in that situation, that could be a good solution. I've lived in Colombia for 15 years and I do business in the United States, and I've never needed a US phone account. I use the Magic Jack. I've been using it since for over 20 years now. Since it first came out, I've had the Magic Jack. It's a voice over IP. They give you an actual phone number from the United States, and you can receive calls from the United States to, as long as you've got an internet connection, it works. It's gotten me out of binds so many times. When I was at the airport one time, I was ready to board the airplane, and I was going to another city in Colombia, and I got a fraud alert on my phone for my credit card. And I was like, shoot, this is the credit card I was going to use for this trip, and I can't even use it. While I was almost boarding the plane, you know, in the line for boarding, used my Magic Jack, because it's an app on the iPhone now, or probably on Android as well. But I opened up Magic Jack, made a call to their 1-800 number at Capital One, said, hey, this is not fraud. It was me purchasing something at the airport in Colombia. And she said, okay, no problem. And she unblocked it, and I was, you know, out of that bind. If I didn't have that, it would have been very difficult to call the United States using my local number here. The Magic Jack also works for text messages. So for example, if you need to get like a PIN code from your bank or something, some banks will send it to a voice over IP number like Magic Jack, some won't. For example, Capital One for some reason won't send to SMS text messages to my Magic Jack number. So what I do is I validate through an email. So they'll send me an email and with a code. So there's always a workaround. Let's say you have a newer iPhone that has an eSIM and you want to get a Colombian eSIM while you're here. You can do that, but you got to make sure that your phone is unlocked. Most phones by default are locked by the carrier, and in order to unlock it, usually you'll have to go to the place where you bought it and have them unlock it so that when you come down here, you can swap out the eSIM for a local eSIM. Number 7, mail and shipping. Receiving your mail in Colombia. What I had for many years was a digital mailbox for a service that would receive all my mail. They would scan the mail and then send it to me through their app on the phone, and I'd be able to open it, or email. I'd be able to open it and see what I got for mail. Now, if you want to ship stuff to Colombia, let's say like furniture or, you know, big things, or even things that maybe Amazon won't ship here, because Amazon works in Colombia, it takes about 10 days for them to get here. As long as it's under $200, a $200 purchase, usually shipping is free here. And if you've got Amazon Prime, you get discounts, etc. So I use Amazon all the time. I mean, literally my whole setup, the mic that I have, the gimbal, everything I've bought on Amazon, and it gets here in a timely manner. It's safe, it doesn't get caught up in customs. I've never had that happen. But let's say you have something that's over $200. Maybe it's a little bit bigger or just more expensive. There are freight forwarders. There's a company called the Caribbean Shipper. I have no affiliation. I've used it, works great. You basically ship it to, they give you an address in Florida. You ship whatever you bought, let's say on Amazon, that went over $300 to that address, and then they'll ship it over to you here to Colombia. There's others out there too. I have a list of them. Again, our Medellin Masterclass students have access to all of that. So there's that. Let's get on to the next point, which is number 8, and number 8 is Spanish and language skills. You definitely want to get started with Spanish as soon as possible. Don't wait until you get here to start learning Spanish. You want to start immediately, because most people speak Spanish only here in Colombia, in all of Colombia. In Medellin, you could go to the most touristy area in a bar full of Americans and foreigners, travelers, and no one will speak Spanish there. None of the staff. Maybe 1 or 2 will speak Spanish, if you're lucky. So knowing some Spanish is huge, and it makes a huge difference in your lifestyle and your enjoyment of the city and the culture, of course. If you're using Duolingo or Babbel, I think Babbel is way better. I learned French here, by the way, je parle français aussi, through a language school here, and I used Duolingo. I did not like it. I thought Babbel was a lot better. There might be newer ones now that are better, but you could start that way, but you definitely want to get a private tutor. One of the best companies that does it is called Blink Spanish. They have an online section called Spanish Fit. You can look them up, SpanishFit.com. Also, we have a list of Spanish tutors for our Medellin Masterclass students that we've vetted that are part of our network. So you get that if you do join the Masterclass, but it's not hard to find those. Again, the Facebook groups are your friends. Even though there's a lot of toxicity and hatred amongst, I don't know, expats in those groups, you can get great information, especially if you're looking for something like a Spanish tutor. You'll get, you know, the reviews of people that have used people, you know, You'll get reviews of people that have used tutors to let you know which one's the best one, why they like them, etc. So I highly recommend getting in those groups for those purposes. And once you're down here in Colombia, you definitely want to go to all of the language exchanges. I've been to them all. I mean, I'm bilingual, but I love going to language exchanges because I get to practice my French. But on top of that, I get to meet new people all of the time. I get to meet people from different countries. Get to meet locals that speak English. And obviously, if in your case, you should be practicing your Spanish as much as possible. Number 9 is networking and community. The best online resource for this, to meeting people and getting together with people that are doing stuff out here, is called MDE Community. If you Google MDE Community, I think it's just mdecommunity.com, but you can Google it and find it. It's basically a web page that has links to a bunch of WhatsApp groups depending on your interest. Let's say you're into artificial intelligence and that's what you work on, and then maybe that's your hobby, your passion. There's a group for that of people living in Colombia doing that, living in Medellin, I should say, not in Colombia, but in Medellin specifically. If you like hiking, there's a group for that. If you like playing paddle, there's a group for that. If you like to play golf, there's a group for that. You get what I mean. There's a group for everything there. I've found many friends on there, even like nerdy things. For example, I like to play board games. There's a board game community. I play video games. There's a video game community, and I get to meet locals and foreigners in those WhatsApp groups that get together and play. So I highly recommend MDE Community. Start networking. You could do it right now without even being here in Colombia. Point number 10 is clothing. Everybody wears pants here. I wear shorts a lot here, but most people will wear pants here, and you don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. So the best thing is to pack pants. Jeans are very popular here. Everyone wears jeans. Sneakers are always clean. Colombians love clean white sneakers. So make sure that your sneakers are flashy and clean. And then, you know, if you're a guy, make sure that you look nice. Even though there are younger people that are into the hipster look that, you know, kind of look like a vagabond. Adults, I'm talking about like 40 plus like myself, it's usually better to look nicer and presentable, especially if you're trying to make a good impression on people. I come from California where everyone wears shorts and flip-flops. You can be at a dive bar sitting next to a guy. He looks like a bum, but he's actually a multi-millionaire CEO. That's not the case here. If someone's a multi-millionaire CEO, you will know by the way they dress. It's just a different culture. If you don't want to stick out like a sore thumb and maybe be targeted as a tourist, then you might want to dress like the locals here, or at least similar, you know, presentable. Another thing that, look, it rained all day today, and no one's wearing a jacket or a sweater. Some paisas do because they get very cold easily because they're not used to cold weather. So when it gets a little wet like this, they'll wear a sweater or a jacket. But I have sweaters and jackets that I've never worn. I only wear them if I go to cold mountainous regions, but that's very seldom. Here in Medellin, I hardly ever wear anything on top because as soon as I put it on, the humidity level is so high that as soon as I put it on, I start to sweat. And I'm like, yeah, what the hell did I bring this out for? Now I have to carry it around. Okay, number 10, transportation. The best mode of transportation, the one that I use almost every day, is Uber because it's safe. There are other apps like InDriver, Cabify, etc., but Uber has been the safest and best for me, although I did lose an iPhone on an Uber. But those are, you know, individual cases. When you use an Uber or any transportation service out here or app, it's not like the United States. The business, for example, in this case, Uber, is not responsible for your ride or what happens to you on the ride, etc. Here, because Uber is kind of like a gray area in how legal it is, when you get into an Uber, when you accept to pay the fare, if you read the fine print, you're basically entering into an independent contract with that driver. So it's basically a transaction between you and him. Uber is just a marketing company and they're out of that transaction. So if you lose something in an Uber, something happens, they won't respond. It's between you and the driver. I've never had safety issues. I've never had anybody, you know, rob me on an Uber. The drivers are great. Uber comforts here are awesome. There are different levels of Ubers. There's the Uber Now or Uber Ya, which is like the fastest Uber, and they're usually tiny cars. I'm a taller guy, so I'd prefer the Uber Comforts. I don't go long distances. I think the most I've ever paid for an Uber is maybe $22 to go across the city. at rush hour where I had to wait in traffic for a while. So, I mean, that's unheard of to pay $22 for an Uber ride, but I think that's the most I've ever paid. Usually it's like $4, so the amounts are negligible. Another thing that I do like to use, especially when I have clients out here and I'm not going to use my car, is to have a driver. You could talk to Uber drivers that pick you up and ask them if they are private drivers as well, you know, off of the platform, and ask them what they charge per hour. Usually a per hour rate for a driver is around 40,000 pesos per hour, which is about $10 per hour. If I have a client in town and I'm not going to use my car and maybe I need a larger car, I'll hire a private driver to drive us around. Obviously the per hour rate depends on how nice the car is and how big the car is, etc. But it usually works out and then the price is not that much. The next point is food and drink. Drinking the water here, tap water, is completely fine. I've never gotten sick from it. I've never heard of people getting sick from the tap water here. But if you don't want to drink the tap water, you can buy bottled water that's everywhere. Food here isn't as spicy as, for example, Mexican food, Indian food. I would say American food, but American food isn't really spicy. I mean, like mashed potatoes and meatloaf is not really spicy. I would say it's different than other Latin American countries' food. It's more bland. It's just like salt and maybe some oregano. So if you do like spices, spices can be expensive here, especially if you like real curry, masala, etc. So you might want to bring those down with you. Those are things that you can bring down, or you should bring down. The next point is electronics. Most things that are imported into the country are more expensive here than they are in the United States. So if you want to get an expensive laptop, maybe $1,500, $2,000 laptop, obviously that would exceed the $200 in Amazon for the free shipping. And once it exceeds that, the shipping rates go super high. So it's not worth buying it on Amazon and having it shipped over here. The best thing to do is to bring it with you, or have it mailed to someone and have them bring it to you. Or maybe using one of these freight forwarding services that I had mentioned before. As far as like power converters, you can find those pretty much anywhere. If you're coming from Europe, you can find them anywhere. I've had guests at my Airbnbs that were from Europe and say, hey, we forgot our converters, and they thought they were SOL, but Home Center has converters. I think Éxito now has, because there's a higher demand in El Poblado, so the grocery stores, the bigger grocery stores, and the home centers here, which are like the Home Depots, will have them. The next point is probably the biggest point, cost of living, what to prepare for. If you're gonna be renting a furnished apartment on Airbnb in El Poblado, it will depend on where in El Poblado you're gonna be. There are some areas that are very, very sought after, some that are less sought after, but for the most part, El Poblado is kind of like the Beverly Hills of Medellin. It has always been the most expensive, where the rich Colombians live. And obviously many people wanna live in these areas because there are cafes, co-working spots, it's safe, etc. A furnished 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment can easily go for $2,000, $3,000 on Airbnb, depending on the area and how nice it is. The further away you get from El Poblado, you can go to Laureles, you can go to Belén, you can go to Envigado. You'll find lower rates, like $1,200 a month, maybe $1,000 a month. I know that in Sabaneta, you can get stuff for $1,200, $1,100 a month on Airbnb. That's nice. But the trade-off is that you're super far away. It might not be the lifestyle that you want, or it might be the lifestyle that you want where you're not near public transportation, or maybe there's more noise, maybe it's a little less safe, etc. Once you get your visa, you get a local ID, it's easier to rent through the local routes, like a local real estate agency renting apartments. They'll do a background check on you, they'll do a credit check on you, and on top of that, they will also ask you for a cosigner, which is something very difficult. Even for locals, that's hard because not many people have a cosigner that will meet the requirements that the agency asks for. Going the local route can be very difficult, but once you do, it's so much cheaper. That same furnished apartment in that same building that was $2,000 or $2,500 here in El Poblado will be $800. So it's worth jumping through all those hoops, especially if you're going to be here for a year and you want a year-long contract. Cost of living for groceries. You could do groceries 3 ways. Number 1 is by the local grocery store, like an Éxito, which is a big one. Carulla is a little bit more expensive, and there are other little grocery stores as well. I mean, I probably spend around $200 a month on groceries. for myself, protein, etc. Obviously with the baby and Manuela now, it's more, but that's what I was kind of spending a month. And I wouldn't even go to the grocery store. I would use the Rappi app, which is a huge tip. Download Rappi, everyone uses it. There's also a Price Mart here where you can buy in bulk, or go to La Minorista. La Minorista is a open air market. It's basically farm to market place where with a fraction of the cost, you get a ton of stuff. For $200 at La Minorista, it would be like a whole 2 or 3 months worth of food. So I like going there when I have time and shop for meat and vegetables and fruits there, because that's the best place to get it. Paying utilities here. Usually I've never paid more than, let's say, $100 per month on utilities here. And the utility company here, EPM, charges you for gas, water, and electricity, so it's 3 in 1. Internet and phone, if you want like a landline, those are separate charges. If you want cable, that could be packaged up with one of the local cable internet companies here. And that costs me $35 a month for 500 megabytes of download speed and about 100 of upload speed, and that's perfect for me. I do streaming. You've seen me if you've seen my live streams. Never have internet issues here, knock on wood. We already talked about transportation and the cost of Ubers, but if you're taking the metro or the buses, it's even less. I think the metro costs like $1 or 70 cents per ride. So it's a very small fee, and it's a great way to know the city. I highly recommend using the metro when you get down here. The next point is safety and security. How to stay safe out here. Number one is not to wear jewelry, not to wear expensive watches. If you're brand new to Medellin, don't flash out your iPhone in places that you're not aware of. Learn your surroundings, learn your neighborhood, learn your street, live on it for a couple of months. I'm not even talking about days. I'm talking about months, because a lot of things can change in a month or two. I've been here for 15 years, so I know all of these areas. I know where I can go with my phone and my gimbal. I know which neighborhoods not to go into with a cell phone and a gimbal out like that, but you learn that over time. So I highly recommend that you don't do any of that. Get down here, pretend that you don't have any money and you don't have any flashy things, learn your surroundings, and then once you feel comfortable, then start assimilating accordingly. When it comes to meeting people out here, there's one thing for certain. Colombians do not go to strangers' homes. Whether you're a guy or a girl, just doesn't happen. It's the way that we're raised because of our turbulent past and unsafety here in Colombia. You just don't go to somebody's house. I mean, I guess in the United States you kind of do that. You can meet someone at the bar, you know, it's another guy and he's, hey, after party at my house. Everyone goes. Colombia, people are apprehensive to do that for safety issues. So I would highly suggest that you do that as well for safety purposes. If you do get into an emergency situation, the 911 number here is 123. It's not 911, it's 123. You can speak in English and say, hey, I speak English, and they'll get someone in English. I think there's an English line now. I'll look it up and put it in the description below. Along with all of the resources that I have, I'll put it in the description below. I won't give you our personal resources because those are for Medellin Masterclass students. If you do get, let's say, your cell phone stolen and someone's trying to extort you for money, there's a certain branch of the police here called the Gaula that deals with extortions and exploitations. So there's a direct number to them, and I'll put the link in the description to that page where you get the number and all the information there. But if that does happen, make sure you report it to them. And they're very good at catching these guys that are extorting people out here. And obviously that's for locals, so it happens to locals too. If anything, it happens to locals more than it does to foreigners. Because, you know, who gets robbed more in Colombia, foreigners or Colombians? Colombians do, of course. So that was a branch of the police that was created, and it's worked out really well. I know people that have used it when they were getting extorted over a cell phone or whatever the case was, and it's worked out well, so make sure to report it to that branch of the police. The next point is culture and etiquette. In Colombia, when you meet someone, it's normal to, if it's a guy and a girl meeting for the first time, to say hello and kiss on the cheek, but you don't actually put your lips on her cheek, and she probably won't. If she does, she probably likes you, but usually it's just like you touch cheeks with each other as you say hello for a second and say hello, hi, nice to meet you, my name is Andrew, whatever. I've seen so many foreigners that when they, you know, they're new here and they meet someone, especially a woman, they give them like a big old wet one on the side of the cheek. It's like, whoa. So make sure that it's just a light tap on, you know, cheek to cheek. With guys, it's a normal handshake. Here, people are more touchy-feely than they are in the United States. So if you do have a couple beers, or maybe you're at a sporting event, someone hugging you, grabbing you is completely normal. And people are very polite here. This is why it's so important to get a Spanish tutor that's from here, because there's so many nuances in the language, especially in the Paisa language and the Paisa culture, that a teacher from some other region will not be able to teach you. Whenever you get in an elevator, whether it's in your apartment building or at the mall, somewhere else, you say buenos dias, buenas tardes, and then when you exit the elevator, you say hasta luego or buen dia. That's completely normal. Everyone does it. Sometimes people will even spark a little conversation or comment about something in the elevator, and that's completely normal. It's actually expected sometimes. Tipping culture. Tipping culture is something that's new here. Most restaurants will include the tip in the bill. They should ask you before, and it's usually 10%. Usually they'll ask three things when they give you a bill here. Number one is what form of payment, whether it's going to be credit card or cash. Efectivo is cash. Number two is if you want a factura electrónica. For example, if you're going to be using it as a tax deduction for your business or whatever, they can send you a receipt to your business, to your email. And number three is if you want to include the tip, and usually the tip is 10%. And you say yes or no, and if you say no, that's okay. A lot of the time I say no and I wait for the reaction. I say, oh, it's because I'm going to give it to you in cash. If you really like that waiter and you're like, no, I want to give it to you and I want you to keep it because you were amazing, I give them the cash. The next point is one of my favorite things about living here is weekend getaways. It's part of the culture that on long weekends, and there are 14 national holidays here in Colombia, so there are many 3-day weekends. If the holiday is technically on a Wednesday or a Thursday, they'll move it to Monday so that it's a 3-day weekend. So it's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off, and people go back to work on Tuesday. People will go out of town. They go out of town to little towns nearby. They take road trips out there, you know, an hour, maybe 2 hours away, and stay at fincas, at boutique hotels with pools, or boutique hotels with a chimney or whatever it is with nice mountain views, or they'll go to their family's towns. That is part of the culture here, and I highly suggest that you try it out. Since so many people do it, you can go to the bus terminal, buy tickets for that day to go to the small town that you want to go to. A lot of the small towns will align their festivals with holiday weekends so that you can go out there for 3 days, 4 days and have a blast at these small towns. It's super fun. It's something that I like to do with my family now. We take road trips all the time to little towns to discover the town and also to have fun and watch live music, watch the parades, etc. Okay, so it didn't rain on us, and I've gotten through the meat of this information, so I'm going to start walking back home. I don't want to leave my backpack because that would be the worst thing that could happen. I'm going to walk back home and give you some bonus information. Dating in Medellin, whether you're a guy or girl, but mostly guys because most of the people that watch my channel are guys. When it comes to dating out here, you can use dating apps. I've had many friends and family members even that have found their significant others on Tinder, on Bumble. Hinge works out here. There's a couple others. I don't use them. I've had those and I have used them. I never had success on them because I wasn't consistent. I never actually messaged anyone or replied to them because I meet so many people out here just networking and living my life, doing this, walking, going to the co-working spot, going to the cafe, that it's very easy. And on top of that, I speak Spanish fluently. So meeting people here of the opposite sex is very easy because we're a culture of communication. People like to talk here. People like to communicate. But there's a few things that you should know to stay safe. Number one is, again, if you meet someone on Tinder and they want to go to your place on the first date, that's a red flag. If you meet someone on Tinder and they come from a neighborhood that is a low-income neighborhood, that's a red flag. If you meet someone on an app and their pictures are half naked with tattoos on their neck, if you meet someone on the app and they start asking you for money, that is a red flag. You do not want to meet these people in person. It's not a good idea. You want to avoid getting drugged and robbed. normal dating culture here, or the progression of dating someone here, is that you meet them in person. Let's say you met someone at the bar, or let's say you meet someone on a dating app. They'll want to go to a public location like a restaurant or a cafe. I prefer the cafe dates for my friends and people from the masterclass. I always say, you know, first date should be during the day at a cafe, getting to know each other. It's not at a bar getting drunk and trying to dance and grind up on her, for one of two reasons. Number one is that if this is a person that's trying to drug and rob you, they're not going to go to a cafe. First of all, the likelihood of you getting drugged and robbed is very low compared to how many people use the app. Millions of people have come through Medellin this year. It's been 1.5 million people have come to Medellin this year. How many of those were men that used apps and dated women and were successful? Probably the majority. It's been a minority that do get drugged and robbed. And it's an even smaller amount of people that have gotten drugged and overdosed and passed away. So the likelihood of it happening to you is very low. And I think that's why people get relaxed, because maybe they'll go out with someone and it's a home run, so they keep doing it, and then they get drugged and robbed because they get relaxed with their filtering of these dates. I never used it. I recommend that that if you do use it, to be careful. Don't invite people over to your house. Don't go to someone's house. Don't get a hotel room, because I've seen that before as well, where guys are like, well, I'm not going to invite her over. I'm just going to get a hotel with a jacuzzi in it or whatever, and we're going to hang out there. And I'm like, bro, if she's doing that on the first date, that's not Colombian dating culture, man. No Colombian girl, or very little, Colombian girls are going to do that, because again, we come from a culture where it wasn't safe. So our parents teach us. I grew up in the United States, and my parents never wanted people over at the house, even just for a sleepover, etc., just because we didn't know them, even if they were like our friends from school. So yeah, I highly recommend that you don't do that. I'm gonna cross the street over here. When it comes to dating here also, the man pays for everything. Yeah, it's part of the allure of living in Colombia, is that it's kind of like stepping back in time in the United States, where the man is the man, the woman's the woman. I don't expect to split bills with women. I will pay for everything. Although the girls, pretty much all of the girls that I've ever dated have wanted to, split a bill. When the bill comes, they will reach for their purse and they'll want to, but I won't allow it, because that's what I work for. I like being a provider. If you don't like that, you can find women here that will split bills with you and that and the other, but for me, it's just something that, I don't know, since childhood, my dad kind of instilled in me, because we're kind of old school that way. But so expect that. A lot of women will expect that sometimes too, for you to pay. So don't be offended by it. Be a man, pay for it. If you don't like it, go find someone else. But that's completely normal. What is not normal is for them to ask you for money, to ask you to buy an iPhone for them, to ask you to buy a fucking motorcycle or a scooter for them. That's not normal. I would never do that. I have never done that. Especially if it's someone that I'm not even dating. It's just someone that I'm getting to know. Another thing that is not normal in the United States, that is normal here, let's say you do hit it off with a girl and you like each other and you've dated a couple times. The third date could be at her house meeting her whole family. She's like, oh yeah, it's my aunt's birthday. Let's go say hi. And you're like, what? You're gonna meet your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncles, and it can be overwhelming. It's happened to me many times, but over time, I've learned to love it, man. It's so fun going to those family functions. Everyone's dancing. You're dancing with the grandma, the aunt. They're all like, oh, and I'm not even gringo. I don't even look gringo, but since I speak kind of with a gringo accent in Spanish, or they know that I'm not from here, they're like, oh yeah. And also I'm 6'3", so the aunts, the cousins, they want to dance and they want to get to know you and speak in English, etc. Ask you about your life and what you think about certain things, what your favorite soccer team here is. So that's super fun. So guys, there are 3 calls to action here. Number 1, if you're looking for a property, Medellin Living Real Estate can help you. There's a link in the description to a form. You fill it out, somebody on the team will get back to you as soon as possible. Number 2, if you want to join the Medellin Masterclass, There is a webinar link in the description below. Make sure you have an hour to watch it, which will give you a 50% discount on the masterclass. And then the third call to action. I've gotten so many people asking me questions and saying, I don't know if I'm ready for the masterclass, or I don't know if I'm ready. I want to buy a property, but I have some minor questions. I used to do these consultations for free. If you want to pay for my time, there is a link in the description for a paid consultation. Now, if you're like one of those people that I don't even know if I want the paid consultation because I have other questions about buying property out here, or about starting a business, or relocating, retiring in Medellin, I'm doing this one time only. I'm doing a free Zoom call for 20 people. There's a form in the description below. Click on that link, fill out the form. I've got to vet you and make sure that you qualify for this, because I don't want just tire kickers. I want people that are actually ready to make a move out here to be on this call, so that it's valuable for everyone on the call, not just someone that's going to sit there and listen to us talk and then leave. I want to form this little community of people that are interested in coming to Colombia, to relocate, to live in, to invest in, etc. And it's only going to be 20 people. So fill out that form. I'll vet you. I'll add you to the Zoom call. Let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one.